Let me tell you a story about how a $5,000 fine turned into a full-on neighborhood war and how I turned the tables on the HOA by buying the very land they thought they ruled. After my wife Rachel passed from cancer, I packed up our life in Portland and moved with my daughter, Mia, to a quiet place in Alderwood Ridge. I thought the fresh air and forested backyard would help us both heal. I found remote work as a systems engineer and bought a small home that backed onto 200 acres of beautiful woods. A dream spot. Peaceful. Until the HOA got involved. The neighbors were mostly warm. Except for Linda and Curtis Mallory, the HOA president, and her husband. Instead of casseroles, they gave us a pamphlet with HOA rules and a tight smile. Not exactly the welcome wagon. Now, I've been hunting since I was 14. My dad taught me everything. Respect the land. Never take more than you need. And always clean up after yourself. So one October morning, I grabbed my gear and went into the forest behind our house. I had all the proper licenses. I was careful, ethical, legal. But when I got back with a small buck, Linda was waiting. Phone out. Finger wagging. Hunting is a direct violation of HOA code. She snapped, holding up a tablet. This forest is under HOA jurisdiction. I showed her my tags and license. Politely. Calmly. But she just turned red and walked off, muttering about bylaws and community standards. Next day, a fine showed up taped to my door, $500 for dangerous activity. A few days later, an email, further violations would be met with escalating fines. That's when I started digging. I called the county clerk, asked who owned that forest. Turns out, the land used to belong to a developer who went bankrupt years ago. Nobody had claimed it. It was in legal limbo, which meant the HOA didn't own it, but they sure acted like they did. Around that time, a neighbor named Dana, who served on the HOA board, reached out. Meet me at the corner cup. She texted. I was skeptical, but curious. Over coffee, Dana told me Linda was using the HOA as her personal tool of control. She'd harassed dozens of families, issued arbitrary fines, and even tried to ban certain types of lawn ornaments because they lowered property values. Oh, and Linda had plans. Big plans. She wanted to turn the forest into a private golf retreat. Already in talks with developers. The hunting rule. Just a cover. They wanted the land for profit. I went to the next HOA meeting. Packed room. I stood up and asked, "Can you provide documentation proving HOA ownership of the forest behind our homes?" Linda deflected. "We have an understanding with the former developer. It's tradition." So, no deed. No contract. I pressed. Silence. 2 days later, I was hit with another violation, $1,000 for community disruption. That was it. I was done playing defense. With Dana's help, I dug through the county's property database. Turns out, the land was up for auction. The HOA didn't know yet. I formed a small LLC and prepared a bid. I scraped together savings, cashed out stocks, and with my mom's reluctant blessing borrowed from her retirement. Auction day came. The HOA showed up with a lawyer and a mystery man in a suit. Clearly they're bitter. The room was tense. Bidding started low, then climbed. $70. 000. $90. 000. $100. 000. My limit was $120. 000. When the mystery bidder went to $115. 000. I stepped out and called my mom. Can you spare another $20,000? She didn't hesitate. Do what you believe is right. I walked back in and raised to $135. 000. Dead silence. HOA couldn't match it. I won. And now, I own the forest. I hired a surveyor. Turns out, the HOA had built several amenities over the Boundaria walking trail, part of a mini golf course, and their annual picnic pavilion, all on my land. I installed cameras, posted signs, private property, no HOA access. Predictably, Linda lost her mind. She called an emergency meeting, ranted about community sabotage, and demanded legal action. But then Dana stood up and dropped a bomb, a leaked email thread between Linda and the developers. It exposed the whole plan: the fake hunting ban, the profit motive, even a promised kickback. Residents erupted. They weren't just mad, they were furious. A vote was held. Linda and Curtis were removed from the board that night. Dana was made interim president. I offered the community a deal: access to trails and picnic areas in exchange for a formal lease and a donation to a local wildlife fund, exactly the amount I'd been fined. Poetic justice. Right. But this wasn't about revenge. I didn't want to become another HOA tyrant. I wanted to protect the forest and give me a safe, beautiful place to grow up. So, I donated part of the land to the state as a nature preserve. We called it Rachel's Reach, in memory of my wife. Now, the kids in the neighborhood take field trips through the trees. There's a sign by the trailhead: respect the land. Respect each other. And the best part, every time I pass the old picnic site, I smile. Because sometimes, the best way to stand up to power is to outsmart it. If you were in my shoes, would you have fought back or just paid the fine? Let me know in the comments. And hey, tell me your worst HOA horror story. I know I can't be the only one.